It's week 8 in the CFL here on the Betting Blueprint. Andrew, Terry, and Bobby. And guys, time flies by. You know what? We thought in week 6, we're like, time's going by pretty fast, and we're seeing all kinds of overs. And I started to realize, guys, why we were getting so many overs. Well, it's because we had starting QBs. We had no injured receivers. We had no issues going on throughout the league. Well, this week, 2 unders, 2 overs. So I don't think the unders have had one full dominant weekend so far, guys, but they have caught up a little bit the past few weekends with some unders of their own. Quiet weekend for me on social media. I was a little bit off the grid, but 2-0. Get the job done with the over in the Calgary-Montreal game. We did have BC +3. Shout out to Bobby for telling me on Twitter, don't stress. We can still cover this number. Don't know how it happened with 4 interceptions, but we did. That was kind of crazy, but we'll go around the horn. Bobby, I can't believe we cashed that ticket +3 on BC, but I was happy about the weekend, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I don't know if that was exactly what I said. I thought the game was over 2 plays in, just like you did. But yeah, it's good to get one over on the books because they'll steal money from me any opportunity they get. And that one was I honestly, like, the Elks aren't that bad, and they should have covered 4.5 against Chase Bryce.
I mean, look, if that happens in a game, like, I can only imagine how many live bets came in. For anybody that live bets the CFL, I can only imagine how many came in on the Elks. And, hopefully you had money line, not spread, because obviously they still, don't cover the number there. BC gets it done. So another quarterback down, Terry. We'll see what can happen with that. Obviously, we're going to break that down here today as the Lions take on the Argos. Your thoughts, Terry, on week 7?
Yeah, well, I hate to take credit for any of the BC covering, but sometimes you got to pull out the reverse jinx, and I might have reverse jinx that game a little bit after Work goes down. But no, as soon as he goes down, I post that BC's loss, or BC +2.5 is a loss, because how can you expect to lose him in the first play and then the Elks have the rest of the game? How can you expect BC to cover that? But Edmonton did not put their foot on the gas when they should have. They had so many opportunities, but they just didn't finish their opponent. Now, obviously, they won, but for people that were on the spread, it was just they should have covered that spread easily. But the BC defense is something I noticed too. It was much improved in that game against Edmonton. Then you got Montreal and Calgary. Once again, cashing on the over there, 70 points. Calgary's just an over machine. And then, unfortunately, Winnipeg, I had them on the spread, fell short, only won by 2 points against Ottawa. People on the over would be happy in that game. And looking at the totals, if these games go to overtime, if it's tied, that could really affect the totals with how the overtime works. So interesting. Looking to move on here to week 8, and probably going to be a lower volume week for me this week because I think there's some tough games this week.
The 2-point convert competition in the CFL, the overtime rules, and people were talking about the Rouge and where we should have been in that game and how everything ended. I thought it was pretty interesting, but the fact is like how many of those field goals that piled up, to your point, Terry. Good news for overbetters, but the fact that not one person could score a touchdown, I mean, early on was kind of crazy to me. And then we get into the 2-point converts, and finally Winnipeg ends up getting the job done. So if Ottawa couldn't have won that game, I don't know what the hell is going to happen to them moving forward. But at least they get a week of not losing as they go into their bye week. So they'll try and figure some stuff out. Let's not waste any more time, guys. We'll get into it. We'll discuss each team. We'll look back, look forward throughout the mix here. Elks and Riders. Let's jump right into it here. Here we go. Elks and Riders. We're seeing 4 for the most part here. You can shop around for a different number, the best number of your choosing. But hey, look, 58.5 is the total. This Elks team, I did see some 4.5s, but this Elks team here, Bobby, look, we feel like we just jumped off them as fast as we jumped on them for a couple weeks here. This team made us some money, and then we've made money betting against them instantly. What do you think here? I mean, Rankin getting shut down twice by BC was awesome for me to have when I had BC both times. But now we ask ourselves, hey, what do we think about them? Getting points now and not being asked to win. But this Riders team, I've been saying this forever. Call me a Riders fan here. I feel like this Riders team is just constantly undervalued.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, the Elks, like 4 interceptions of Chase Bryce, couldn't get any separation in that game over the weekend. It's not because they were taking like stupid field goals. That's usually the cause, but I just don't think they're that good. And that's why they couldn't get separation. And injuries like that Rourke injury happen. They happen a couple times a year. You just kind of have to write those off. And in this case, you didn't have to, which was great. But I'd be pretty upset if I was an Elks backer and you had Chase Bryce for 58 minutes of that game, and you only win by 2 points. So these Elks, there's plenty of people who never have to back up their opinions that are still saying they're the second best team in the league. They're definitely not. Like, they're not going to play the Red Blacks and Chase Bryce probably again for the rest of the season. And that's been 3 of their wins so far this year. So I've no reason to like the Elks here. I think this line should be closer like to 6, probably in that 5.5 range. So I like the Riders at 4. I think that's the max I would lay in this case. But shop around because there's some 3.5s going around. But even 4, that's a good number for the Riders right now.
It definitely feels like this Elks team, whatever we liked about them, is just fading. And if you can watch a quarterback get 4 interceptions, Terry, and only end up beat them by a couple points, it's not a good look. Like, it's one of those wins where you go in the locker room after and you still don't even feel good about yourself after you get that win. It's like in the NHL, if you're up 5-1 and you end up winning that game 5-4, you're like, we won the game, but it was pretty disgusting win, and that's how this Elks team should probably be feeling a little bit. But what do you see in this game here?
Yeah, well, obviously now they're going to have to face the defending champs. So it's going to be a much tougher opponent here. Of course, BC is not, I'm not saying they're an easy opponent, but when you lose Nathan Rourke at the beginning of that game, that's really going to affect things. When I look at this game here, this is a tough handicap for me. Of course, there was tragedy here, a fatal car accident involving a Saskatchewan player. So it's tough to tell how players are going to come out after something like that. You could see them come out absolutely focused, ready to go, and I could see them winning this game by double digits. But I could also see them come out here and be a little bit out of sorts. And that could affect them. So looking at outside things here, it's a tough game for me to handicap when it comes to the side because, like I said, I could see either type scenario occurring. When I look at it, kind of maybe lean a little bit with the Elks at +4 just because of CFL games, how close they are for the most part. But like I said, I don't really want to get involved with the side because I could see it going either way. When it comes to the total, these two teams do not allow a lot. Obviously, Edmonton allows the least amount of points in the league at 23. Saskatchewan, 26.6. So there's like 4 good defensive teams and then 5 not so good defensive teams so far in the year. Now, of course, some of those games involve backup quarterbacks, so that affects things as well. But this one's tough. When I look at it from a player prop perspective, Justin Rankin, if you've been betting his rushing yards when he's not facing BC, he's had over 100 yards in every game. But when he faces BC, he is 19 and 9. So luckily for him, he's not going to face BC this week. He's going to face Saskatchewan. The Riders are allowing the 4th most passing yards against. Our 4th most rushing yards against, 101.8 per game. So I think Rankin can have a bounce back game here. So I'm looking at his rushing yards prop, hopefully in around the 90 90 range.
Yeah, and that's just you're right. Look, the guy has been absolutely unbelievable unless he's played against BC and the game after he had against BC the last time he went crazy again. So sometimes certain teams just shut you down. Terry, I'm going to surprise you here and give out a player prop here. I don't have the exact number, but if I can get a decent number on the Cody Fajardo under, I'm going to be taking a look at that because this Rough Riders team, number one against the pass. So the only issue is if the Riders get a healthy lead and they've got no option to throw the ball, then I'm really screwed. So in a way, me and you are kind of on the same page here. If you hit your prop, it could correlate with me hitting mine. Let's hope for, not a whole lot of passing yards and maybe Rankin just explodes for a ton. So that's going to be my look potentially in this one. And I also might look towards a first half under in this game. I have a feeling this one could start off slow. And I know we've seen some Edmonton games, go crazy. And there have been some Riders games that have been track meets. But I feel like compared to some other teams, this Riders team actually seems to settle into their defense. They kind of, they force teams into field goals. They never give up too much. It's kind of like that bend, don't break defense. So I might look at first half under in this game. And yeah, it could be a prop game. Took 2 weeks off from the props, but this could be a prop that I'm interested in. Current rankings right now, the best team against the pass, Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, Edmonton, the worst, Calgary, Toronto, and Ottawa. So hats off to Ottawa for not being the worst at something this year so far. Let's go to our next one with Calgary and Winnipeg here, guys. When we look at this matchup, if I can pull it up here, 1.5. So we did see a flip. We saw opener Stamps were favored. Then we see Winnipeg favored here. The big thing for this one, Terry, is the fact that you've got, and you said it yourself, the Stampeders are just flying over the total in every single game that they play in. I gave my clients over 63.5 in that one for a 4% play on Saturday. No sweat, ton of points all game long. And you look at this Winnipeg team, their defense hasn't really been the same either, but that Sunday game they were coming off of, quite the weird one that they had to actually come back in against Ottawa, but the books are saying, nope, we'll go short favorites here on the Blue Bombers. Total is at 60.5. Do you have a side or total here?
This is another tough one. When I look at it here, the Stampeders have had some success against Winnipeg the last couple seasons. This Winnipeg Blue Bombers team, Drew Brown said after the game that they didn't play their best, especially early on in the game. And that's completely true. Winnipeg's lucky to be able to come back and win that game. So if they come out here and they play their best for a full game, they should win this game against the Calgary Stampeders. With the Stamps, they have the best offense in the league, but the worst defense in the league. So you're not going to find me looking at an under with the Calgary Stampeders. I was with you on that over, Andrew. It's just even at 63.5, you look at that thinking that's a really high total, but totals are high with Calgary for a reason. So when I look at this game here, even though I do think we're going to see points here, I think Dedrick Mills has a big game for the Calgary Stampeders. Led the CFL in rushing yards last year. Justin Rankin has been getting all the love so far to start the season, but Dedrick Mills has retaken the number one spot in rushing yards on the season so far, due to Rankin's bad games against BC, obviously. Last week, 130 rushing yards and a touchdown. Against Winnipeg in week 1, 112 rushing yards and a touchdown. So I'm looking for 90, hopefully in the 90s somewhere for Dedrick Mills rush yards. And I'll be taking that over. And then Nick Dembski receiving yards, hoping to get it around 80. And then I'll be looking to take that. Calgary just allows a ton of pass yards. So Drew Brown should have a better game here this week.
I mean, Bobby, when you look at this Winnipeg team and their defense right now, is it one of those situations where it's like, okay, maybe this isn't a team. Maybe Calgary's just giving up so many points that it doesn't really matter what they do because they're just giving up so many points themselves. Or is it one of those situations where Calgary could outscore their defensive troubles? Because that's what I feel like. It's like a team with a bad pitching staff, but they put up 7 runs a game. A team with a bad goalie like the Edmonton Oilers, but they score 6 goals a game. That's what it feels like with Calgary, except for they're going to one day meet a team that is going to be able to stop them, and Calgary's going to just keep giving up points. That's what I think when I look at this game that's kind of causing me issues, because if they roll the ball out and they play first to 30, I kind of want to take Calgary. My question is, do you think Winnipeg can stop Calgary?
No, they couldn't even stop Ottawa, right? So Calgary's dug themselves a few holes already this season, and were able to come back thanks to VA. But honestly, like I don't have much on this one here. Like Calgary, are they the better team? Yes. Is the better team always favored? No. And then Winnipeg should be a slight favorite here, in my opinion. Drew Brown isn't much of a downgrade from Collaros, even though he struggled a bit in the first half of that Ottawa game. But honestly, like it never looked like it got too out of hand for them. So I don't have much on this one. You don't have to bet every game. This one I'm staying off. And I want to address when you took that under on Fajardo, I shook my head a bit. And that was just because we're the 2 founding members of the Cody Fajardo fan club. I'm already off the Elks this week, and I was off them last week. And it was on you to keep his confidence up and give him some positive reinforcement. And you totally blew it. So that's bad job by us and the Cody Fajardo fan club. But we'll be back for another week. Hopefully some better news next week. Maybe they got to buy.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if he unblocks me on Twitter, I'll start betting on him again and cheering for him and not taking his unders. Yeah, look, interesting stuff for me here. Like this is one of a lot of times when there's a weird one, you kind of have to think twice a little bit about it. But this is one of those things for me where it's like, hey, look, Calgary, if we look at it, they had back-to-back games against the best team in the league. My opinion, should be everybody, the Grey Cup favorites, right? So as much as they leaked points and gave up points, and we'll talk about Montreal too, their defense hasn't looked fantastic either, guys. But I just think, look, there's nothing that we can say that can deny the fact that they've been putting up points on the board, this Calgary Stampeders team. So if we're going to look at them scoring, driving the field, they're the one team that hasn't really had any changes. They score points and they give up points. And I think that if they put up numbers and they have their guys playing the way they know that they can, as they're averaging 35.7 points per game, Winnipeg's averaging 26 points per game. Like this sounds like an oversimplified handicap, but I don't think Winnipeg can hang with them. And I think this is going to be a team that's going to just outscore any defensive worries. And as long as, if Diedrich Mills runs the ball, keeps Winnipeg off the field too, that should be really helpful for us. So I think I'm probably looking towards the Calgary side. And I think that this is going to be one of those spots where if Winnipeg gets down, because one thing I've always noticed, and it doesn't sound like a good idea to say this now after their comeback against Ottawa, but it's Ottawa. Against any respectable opponent, Winnipeg isn't very good when they're down. Like they've always been a good team, guys, at keeping the lead. And when you put them down, again, last week, I know they came back against Ottawa, but they're a team that loves to have the lead, kind of use the clock. They'll finally give it to Oliveira. For some reason, their OC hates running the ball. Nobody knows why. But like that overtime could have been ended 20 times if they just let Oliveira have it. He would get stuffed once and they wouldn't give it back to him. It was some Marshawn Lynch on the goal line type stuff. But anyway, I think that Winnipeg's going to give up points once again. I lean towards the Calgary side. Toronto and BC. Let's talk about it here, guys. Let's dive into it. It's unfortunate that we have to talk so much about injuries and how much they affect the league. But at the same time here, look, Bobby, this is a spot where we ask ourselves, what number would this be if it was Rourke in here? And all we can say is this. There's probably only a couple quarterbacks in the NFL where the number is adjusted this much. And I would say there might not be any quarterbacks in the NFL where it's adjusted this much, because this to me is one of those, and I'm going to go on record and say it probably isn't justified. It probably isn't justified. And I know teasers, parlays, you're supposed to use them in a certain way. Like this is one of those ones for me. I'll say this right now. talk me out of a Rough Riders and Argonauts money line parlay. Talk me out of just me asking both of those teams to win. I haven't done one of those all season long. I've done one teaser, like a proper long teaser. Both these teams, look, fading quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, not named Drew Brown. You've had a lot of success doing it here, Bobby. I mean, sometimes you got to just, keep it simple. And what do you think if I just put a dance partner and Elks and Argos together?
Yeah, and this was completely unrehearsed. I mentioned last week that I had some thoughts on this quarterback drop off, and this is a perfect example. Okay. It was I don't know how many years ago. It was within the last 10 years. Brett Hundley of the Green Bay Packers, when Aaron Rodgers got injured, that was like the touchdown difference. Usually, it's a drop off of anywhere from 1 to 4 points. That was like monumental drop for 7 points in the NFL to a backup quarterback. I think that's what this is with Nathan Rourke to Chase Bryce. And has Chase Bryce given any indication you should put any money to back him up? Absolutely not. It's a drop off for a pretty significant reason, and that's because Chris Streveler mentioned this. Teams barely practice in the CFL. Luke Wilson goes on and on about this all the time. They get a few hours a week of practice. That's it. The backup quarterback gets a handful of reps like every season in practice if they're not getting any game time. So it's no knock on Chase Bryce. I don't think any quarterback is going to be great if they just come in without getting significant game time. So he still deserves a lot of starts. I don't know if he deserves the 20 starts that Trey Ford got, but give him at least a dozen until you can decide whether he's decent or not. Jake Dolegala is still getting starts in this league. So it's not really a knock against Chase Bryce here. What would this line be if it was Rourke? Probably a touchdown the other way. To you, that could mean something. To me, I still think that would only make the line slight favorites. I think this line is off to begin with, or they're not accounting enough for Chase Bryce. It could be either one. It's the CFL. I don't know how serious these books take it. Even with the injury report today from the Argos, with the concerns on defense, this is like game 7 of this endless road trip for the Argos. I would still only have the Lions as like a slight favorite. So to get Chase Bryce, and you only have to lay 3.5. They're even asking you to do it at minus 105 here. I don't think a couple of games against Edmonton is an indicator that the Lions have like figured out their secondary problems. So Chad Kelly's a lot different than Cody Fajardo. I think the Argos are a lot more dangerous in the air. And there's nothing really to like here for the Lions other than it's their home opener, and they don't have Nathan Rourke for it.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. You got to feel bad for a team that at least they were in beautiful Kelowna, and they had some nice places, and they still had their home field for the most part, or home crowd. But I forgot to mention that, Bobby. You're right. The home team isn't even going to get to see their favorite guy behind center there, Terry. So yeah, like this is the stuff where, like, look, I like being contrarian sometimes. I like kind of betting the ugly ones every now and then. And I just think that we've learned a hard lesson in the CFL where the books don't adjust enough. Like, I mean, again, look, we're seeing plus 3.5 now, home team for the Lions, but as Bobby just explained, like, sometimes, like, whatever number they come up with the first time is just not enough. And we even saw that, the first game after the Bo Levi injury, and we see it constantly, but sometimes you just have to ask yourself, like, hey, look, what would it take for me to be on this Lions team? At the end of the day, guys, here, I'm looking at it right now. As I looked at this right before we went live on the show, I can get plus 135 at one book, plus 140 at the other book for an Argos Riders moneyline parlay. Both teams to win, get the job done. Terry, what do you think here? Am I just keeping it simple? Is that a good win or what?
Well, I hate to disagree with you guys.
Ooh, all right.
But how I look at this game, if a running back can go and play quarterback for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and beat the Toronto Argonauts, then maybe Chase Bryce can sneak out some kind of. No, I'm not going to take the headlines on the money line, but I'm looking at the spread here. I think the Lions can keep this close. The Argonauts, they're on the longest road trip of a lifetime in the CFL. So looking to get home. Just the way they lost, they obviously lost last week's game. And now coming in here, BC at home. I think that this is a BC spot, honestly. So even without Rourke, I think that they can compete in this game. Whether they find a way to win, I'm not sure. But getting the plus 3.5, I'm very tempted with the Lions. So I want to see how this line moves as we get closer to game time. And, of course, see injury reports, full injury reports come out. But I'm leaning heavily with the Lions on plus 3.5 here. Having said that, I would be looking at Chad Kelly pass yards around 320 or more. He has at least 320 in 5 of his 6 games this year. So I'm hoping that his prop is below 320. And then looking at some interesting touchdown props here, I'd be looking at both defenses. Toronto defense to score touchdowns plus 270, BC defense to score touchdowns plus 500. I think we see interceptions galore here on both sides. Obviously, Bryce threw 4 last week. Chad Kelly, I believe, is tied for – nope, he is leading the CFL in interceptions so far this year. So I think both quarterbacks throw the ball to the other team. We might have a good chance to get a pick 6. So I'd be looking to sprinkle maybe a little bit on both opposing defenses to score a touchdown. And then I'm leaning with Lions plus 3.5 here on this one.
Yeah, guys, and I look at the Argos, the last 2 games they've played here, Terry. I mean, 23 points in one, 21 in the other. But to your point, I mean, look, it's funny how this works out, right? Argos and Lions, both teams, cities were hosting the World Cup. Argos, finishing up the big road trip. Lions, first game back, supposed to have their quarterback, supposed to be healthy, supposed to put on a show at BC Place. As far as the total is concerned, again, we talk about keeping it simple by fading a team without a quarterback, at least what I was saying. I've also looked at, I had that 5% under when we had a backup quarterback in. And at 58.5 here, I get it. We might get a fatigued Argos defense. Bobby mentioned the defense hasn't been as good for the Lions here. And I understand, Terry, look, we still have opportunities for points, but 58.5, like if this is 58.5 without Rourke, what the hell is the total with him? Like 65? And like, you know what I mean? Like this seems like they adjusted the point spread enough, but they barely adjusted the total enough, in my opinion. So I'm going to look towards the under at this game as well, because if this game has Rourke, maybe we're talking 63.5, 64.5, but that's just not moved well enough with the spread. So I look probably towards the under. But if you're with me here on the show, there's a good chance I'm probably playing that money line parlay that I mentioned. Hey guys, you can see at the bottom of your screen the buy 3 days, get 3. That's available at Terry's website and my website, of course, wagertalk.com and picksandparlays.com. You buy 3 days, you get 3 additional days for free. That's at our profile pages. So it's good for the CFL. It's good for baseball. You guys can get all of our stuff for a handful of days, and it's a lot better than just getting one sample size of one play and one play only. I was pretty happy. Up 29 units now in the season, 68% picks so far. And of course, at Wagertalk, it's a 1 to 5 unit scale. So we'll try and keep it going. Last week is in the past, new week here, but got some picks already up for grabs and look forward to keeping it on going. The last game of the week we're going to break down here, guys, Tiger Cats and the Alouettes. Bobby, I saw you tweet out something in this one here. So why don't you start things off for us?
Sure. And let's start off with nobody's been a bigger Trey Ford supporter in the last 7 days than myself. And I have to stay on him again. Like he looked like a legitimate backup quarterback. And that's pretty embarrassing for anybody who thought Jake Dolegala was the right one to start the week before. It's also embarrassing how low the expectations are for a backup quarterback in this league. So you've got what appears to be a decent backup quarterback for Hamilton now. The Hamilton D has basically kept them in the last 2 weeks. The wheels fell off 2 weeks ago against Toronto, but they were fine last week. The reason that game got close again was all on Milanovic, right? So just bad decisions by Hamilton. But in spite of all that, like Trey Ford, Argo should have won that game, but Trey Ford definitely should have covered it. So 11's a 11. This is a Taylor Cornelius kind of number. If this was Jake Dolagala, I'd have to question it a bit, but it's an auto bet with Trey Ford. So I'm on the Ticats. I have him at 10.5, so I have to say 11 would be good as well. But betting against the best team in the league again, undefeated this year doing it. There are limits to how good you think these teams can be. And I think 11 against an average CFL, maybe above average CFL backup quarterback like Trey Ford is too many points.
Well, and I have to say this, Bobby, sometimes people look at like road trip angles, but I also think sometimes returning home angles, and sometimes it's like strength or weakness of schedule. Like I look at it like this, like however we all feel about Calgary, Montreal just had 2 dog fights against Calgary back-to-back weeks, right? You come back at home, you're playing against a much lesser foe, and you ask yourself like, all right, am I going to win this game? Probably, am I going to stomp on their throats? Well, that's to me why I agree with you on the side. And I do like that side as well, because I just don't think we're going to see an Alouettes wire to wire blowout style game. I think that you get 11 points. If the Tiger Cats do even anything significant or make any type of plays, or if the Alouettes make any type of mistakes, like, I mean, you get a couple field goals early on in the game, all of a sudden, you're playing with a ton of points if you're backing the Tiger Cats here. So these ones, Terry, you never really predict you're going to back when the season starts with injuries or situations. But I can see this being a great prop game for you if you can find some touchdown scorers or some players to bet on. But what do you have here? Do you have it in you to join the Trey Ford fan club for this week?
Absolutely not. But having said that, hold on a second. Having said that, one of the main props I'm looking at in this game is Trey Ford rushing yards.
Okay.
He had over 100 rushing yards last week. I want to see if they put up his prop, what that number looks like. Right now, I don't have a number I'm really looking for. I'm just curious as to what that number is for Trey Ford. He's a great running back. He showed that last week against the Argos, because the Argos are a great run defense team. So, yeah, he put up 218 yards against the Argos defense in the air. That's not good. You should be putting up more against the Argos defense. But he was able to run against them. So I'm looking at Trey Ford rush yards prop with the Alouettes. This is tough because if this is a blowout, I could see Davis Alexander resting in the fourth quarter. I could see them resting some players, and I could see Hamilton coming back and covering the point spread. I think the point spread is really high at 11. I think there could be an instance where the Alouettes are covering, but then Hamilton comes back and covers the spread late. And with the fact that I'm not convinced that Alexander is going to play a full game. Now, maybe he does, but I don't want to go towards his props if potentially he might not play the full game. Having said that, he leads the CFL in rushing yards this year. He has at least 300 yards in every game, 336 against Hamilton week 1. So I'm probably going to be looking towards his passing yards prop, because I do think Hamilton's going to be able to not get blown out or be losing by 30 when it comes to the fourth quarter. So, the best thing I can say about Trey Ford is take his rush yards prop, because that's what he can do. He can run.
Well, Terry, all jokes aside, I'm going to just say this, is that if someone's good at something, let them do what they're good at, right? Like I understand the jokes and I like how you're going to capitalize on it. But at the end of the day, like I've seen people say it, like let the guy be who he is, and every now and then, sometimes you got to let a gunslinger be a gunslinger, and sometimes you got to let a runner be a runner. And, if he sees an opportunity, I hope he takes it. And he did last week, and he got 100+ yards, as you said. So sometimes you just gotta be who you are, and I guess that's who he is. So guys, yeah, I lean towards that Tiger Cats side. I should have some props in this game as well, maybe a play on the total. So looking forward to a great week. Up at Wagertalk, already have a big play loaded. Have a play loaded for $5. If you guys are watching this right now, early in the week, or if you're watching it after, every single Tuesday, I do have a play up for $5. That goes back to regular pricing the next day. But hey, looking forward to a great run here, guys. Plus 29 units on the season, and 2-0 in week 7. So got a couple of people that said, hey, we need more picks out of you, man. Well, hey, look, 2-0. It's hard to complain. Would you rather me go 2-2? 2-0. So guys, we'll go around the horn. Bobby, any closing thoughts here before we wrap the show up? Went a little long today.
Yeah, again, if you need me to defend Trey Ford, I'm all here for it. So he's not just a runner. There is just a runner in this league. It's Tommy Stevens, who I think refused to start a game because he's not a passing quarterback. And that's the only reason why Logan Bonner could have got a start in this league 2 years ago. I'll never forget it. When the Stampeders absolutely just forfeited an entire CFL game. So Trey Ford, yes, lean into the run, but who would you rather have back? Do you want Dolagala back? Dolagala's got an arm, and how did that work? So Trey Ford is mobile, but he can also, I wouldn't say thread a few needles, but he can whip the ball at a few players, and hopefully it doesn't go through their hands like it did for all the Red Blacks and and the Bombers. There was a lot of helmets being hit with footballs through people's gloves, which was not a great look for the CFL.
I couldn't believe that game didn't finish sooner. Like, I could not believe that. But yeah, Bobby, best of luck. And guys, make sure you follow Bobby at Mr. Surrey Jack and tweet out all his picks. And every Monday or Tuesday, he's also posting videos recapping his thoughts. So always taking a jab at something or somebody
until the stupidity stops. So once it stops being stupid, I'll stop posting.
Terry, anything you want to mention before we close it out?
Yeah, when it comes to Trey Ford passing, even a broken clock is right twice a day. That's my thoughts there. Number one capper at Picks and Parlays in the CFL this season, just under 20 units profit on the year. But yeah, like Andrew says, get the buy 3 days, get 3 days free. Rocking in MLB props right now. Cashed a plus 660 and a plus 330 home run prop yesterday. So for baseball lovers, head over to picksandparlays.net. I'm your player prop guy over on the site.
Well, it's a great week, guys. Week 8 in the CFL. A lot of you guys watched last week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you made some money with our picks. Leave a like on this video. Let's try and get to 100 likes, and make sure you comment below and let us know who you are betting on this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.